YouTube? It is 2025. That is so crazy to think about. I hope you guys had a great New Year doing whatever you were doing New Year's Eve, celebrating on New Year's Day. And this is the first video of the new year. 2024 was sort of rough for me. I mean, I had a lot of funerals to go to, a lot of deaths happened in the family. I struggled with mental health, mentally, but I don't want to talk about that. What I do want to talk about are some of the great things that came out of 2024, and one of those things was some great video games. And the game I want to talk about is the remake of Sonic Generations. Sonic the Hedgehog honestly had a great year in 2024. First, on December 20th, on 2024, we got Sonic the Hedgehog 3. It was amazing. We got the appearance of Shadow in that movie. We got the amazing fights between him and Sonic. We got the return of Jim Carrey as Eggman. But most importantly, we got the remake of Sonic Generations with Sonic X Shadow Generations for the Nintendo Switch. Sonic Generations came out in 2011, and 13 years later, we got the remake with Sonic X Shadow Generations. And I have to say, of 2024, this is probably one of my favorite games, alongside Princess Peach Showtime. And along with Sonic games, I would have to say this probably takes one of the top 3 or 4 places, along with a couple other Sonic games. Let me get them real fast. People can say what they want about Sonic Forces, but I love Sonic Forces. Being able to create your own character, being able to play as the 80s Sonic and then regular modern day Sonic, playing all these different levels, exploring space. I thought it was an amazing game. Also, you can't go wrong with Sonic Frontiers, one of the best games like Breath of the Wild, except it's Sonic, super fun. And Sonic Colors Ultimate was amazing. I love all 4 of these Sonic games. I wouldn't trade them for anything, because they are just really, really fun Sonic games. But let's talk more about Sonic X Shadow Generations. With Sonic X Shadow Generations, you get 2 stories. You get to play the original story of Sonic Generations, except a remade version of it, and that takes about 5 hours to complete. But you also get another 5-hour story, which is the story of Shadow, what he is going on when Sonic and his 80s partner are doing their side of the story. He has his own side. And what I love about it is that if you don't know who Shadow the Hedgehog is, he has his own origin story before he can start the game. You can choose to look up his origin, how he was made by Gerald Robotnik, how Black Doom helped make Shadow, how Maria sent Shadow to Earth from Gun, and how Maria made Shadow promise that he would help protect the Earth from destruction. You get to learn about his background. But you also do amazing things, like it's the gameplay of Sonic, but you play as Shadow the Hedgehog, which is even more fun. I mean, you can grind on these rails in space, going on all these different courses, using Shadow's hover boots to help complete the courses. I loved it. Super cool. One thing I loved about this game is that you kind of learn about it throughout the game, but you learn it at Sonic's part of the story, like they're stuck in this alternate timeline universe. But what's really cool is that even though Maria and Gerald Robotnik are dead, like their timelines intertwine through Shadow's story. So, well, Shadow and Sonic's story. So, Shadow actually gets to, he's like in this white covered area that as you complete different tasks, these mini games and challenges throughout the game, he is like unraveling through the fabric of time, unlocking all these different areas he can go through, but he's able to spend time with Maria and Gerald Robotnik again, because they're reunited again. It's awesome. I love that these past characters get to reunite again once. It's so cool to see, like, the connection and just the friendship that these characters, Maria and Shadow, had. It's pretty cool. Each area that Sonic or Shadow goes through in his story is pretty fun. There's like a Wild Western area, which is pretty fun to go through. You're just like grinding on these rails, running through these contraptions in this desert, and you're trying to outrun a train at one point. What's really cool is that Shadow's his ability to use chaos control. He can freeze time, so if you feel like you're gonna be crushed by the train at any point, you can freeze time for like up to 5 seconds, which gives Shadow enough time to ride down that rail to avoid being hit by the train. It's awesome. Plus, the bosses of this game are really interesting because they're bosses that were taken from different timelines of Sonic. Honestly, I wasn't a big fan of the bosses in this game, if I have to be completely honest. Like, going through the areas of both Shadow and Sonic's timelines through this game, like, different stages were fun, but the bosses were terrible. With Shadow's story, the very first boss he fights is the Biolizard, which, it's an okay boss fight. It's fun to, like, avoid the Biolizard's attacks, find out its weaknesses, use Shadow's abilities like chaos control, things like that, to be able to, like, teleport up and attack the Biolizard's weak point. But honestly, it felt no threat with the boss fights in this. The same goes for the water boss in this. It like does feel like a boss from a Sonic game. Like, the Biolizard feels like something from a Metroid game as a boss. But with the water boss, it's pretty fun because as you go on through the game, Shadow learns all these different abilities. Like, he can learn the Doom Surf, where he can ride this Gouda manta ray, and he rides that, and he tries to take out the water boss by shooting things at it. And it's pretty fun. Like, there's one point, the second half of it, where you gotta launch missiles at it. But it is kind of annoying, honestly. It is frustrating, though, if you run out of rings and get hit again. Just the replay of what these characters say until you destroy them, it can get honestly frustrating. Like, I kept on failing, and just the characters saying the same thing over and over again. I had to put my TV on mute because I was getting fed up with hearing that. But even though the bosses of the game sucked for each timeline, the different areas they went through throughout the game, that was awesome. The main enemy of the Shadow timeline is the alien Black Doom, which gave Gerald Robotnik blood for him to create Shadow. And what I love about it is that Black Doom will send his drones to, like, kind of manipulate the area that Shadow's going around. So if you're in some area, like running through the cityscape, like collecting rings and doing whatever, Black Doom will send his drones out through the area, and it will create this whole alternate universe. And Shadow will end up, like, targeting the Black Doom drones, destroying them to get back to the reality, back to how it should be. But it's awesome how it was played out like this. I love the gameplay of destroying the Black Doom drones, and Black Doom is just a really cool boss to fight in the end. Shadow does have a couple cool areas where he goes through in this game, different stages to run through. Like, there's a space stage that's really fun. Like, a mini game of it is destroy all these chaos creatures in time. And there's also, like, the Wild Wild West area. There's one where he's running through, like, a destroyed San Francisco area. But there are two areas that I really enjoy. There's one where it's like this cyber volcanic area, which is really cool. Once you're grinding on these rails, doing loop-de-loops or whatever, he'll be like going through the area, the camera like revolving around him. It is so cool to see him like zooming in front of, riding a rail in front of an active volcano. It's pretty cool. But probably my very first favorite area for playing as Shadow in this, it's like this medieval area, which is really fun to go around, like exploring the castles and the waterfalls, the beautiful scenery of it. But what's really cool is that there's points of it where Shadow will come in riding an eagle, or he'll be riding eagles to get around the area. I just thought that was awesome. The fight with Black Doom at the end has to be one of the coolest boss fights in a Sonic game. Shadow's like, Black Doom, here we are at last. We're gonna see who is the stronger being and end this feud at once. Once and for all! And Black Doom is just like, very well, Shadow. Come at me! And you use all your abilities. Like Black Doom, he has like these 3 phases. Each phase he'll become a different creature. But Shadow, he uses his own abilities. Like there's one where he can become this like this gooed up squid. He'll use like, what's really cool is that he can fly once he uses Doom Flight. He'll also use Doom Surf to go through waters to fight Black Doom. It's so cool. Like, the last phase, you have to, like, use your gooed up squid. I think it's just called, like, Doom Morph or something. But the area has been shattered into, like, these pieces where Shadow will have to swing from piece to piece or, like, travel through the goo to get to area to attack Black Doom. It is super intense, and it's just an amazing boss fight to be able to use these powers that Shadow has accumulated throughout this side story, and to be able to fight his creator, basically. It is super fun. I enjoyed the final boss fight, probably the best fight of the story. Really enjoyable. Shadow's story is super fun. 100%. I loved his side of the story of this game. Really cool. So, as great as Shadow's story is, with the final boss with Black Doom, like flying around the city, using the Doom Morph to finally beat Black Doom, there is just the ending is sad. It's like you beat him and Shadow goes back to Maria and Robotnik and he's like, now, I've finally beaten him. Now, what happens next? And Maria and the Doctor are fading, and we learn that since Shadow beat Black Doom, their timeline is starting to separate again. So Maria and Robotnik are going back to the past where, of course, they're dead, and we get the saddest goodbye with Shadow and Maria, and Shadow, he finally decides that it's what he's meant to do to help protect humanity, so he runs off, and he goes to help Sonic, and then that's the end of Shadow's story. It's a super sad ending with saying the goodbye to Maria and Shadow and Robotnik. Their goodbye is really heart-jerking, but it's an amazing ending to his story. And then we get into Sonic's story. I do like the opening of Sonic's story a lot. It got a good, like, good feelings to me. It opens up with Sonic, like everyone's at this park, there's food all around, and Tails and Amy are talking, and then Sonic shows up, and apparently it was a big surprise birthday party for Sonic. Everyone's super happy. They're all having a good time. Tails is like, it's pretty hard to surprise you, Sonic, with you being so fast, but I hope you like it. And he gives Sonic a chili dog, which is awesome. But we're introduced to the villain of this game, of Sonic's timeline in this story of his, which is the Time Eater. Like, everyone gets sucked into these different portals, and we're brought into the first gameplay section of it, which, of course, is classic Greenhill Zone, which I love. I mean, you're playing classic, like, side-scroller style with modern-day Sonic. He's fighting the robots, he's doing the loop-de-loops, he's running over the collapsing areas of the, environment of Green Hills that he's in. But also, the camera changes can become like a first-person view, so you can see Sonic as he's fighting the robots, as he's running around Green Hills doing the loop-de-loops. You can see the camera following him as he does all this stuff. And it's what I love about the game, because it honestly feels like you're Sonic the Hedgehog doing these obstacle courses at Sonic speed. It's really cool. Anyway, it's similar to Shadow's story, how Sonic's story takes place in like this frozen timeline space area where people are frozen in time. But once you complete the Green Hills area, you rescue Tails from being frozen in time, and Tails is trying to explain what's going on. He's trying to like piece it all together. He's like, it feels like this is a nightmare. Everyone's frozen in time. We gotta figure this out because Sonic, this is pretty strange. And I love the reference that Sonic makes in the game. It's so great. He's like, it's no stranger than fighting an evil genie or going into outer space and helping aliens save their world by playing an amusement park. And I love the callback it has to both Sonic Colors and Sonic and the Seven Rings. It was perfect. It made me laugh.
Totally strange.
And no stranger than fighting evil genies or saving aliens in an interstellar amusement park. Right now we should focus on finding our friends.
Each area of Sonic's area that he goes through in like the frozen timeline white space area to unlock the characters, you gotta play each area through 2 separate acts, and both acts can be really fun. The first act is the modern, or like the 80s Sonic, where it's like the side-scroller gameplay, but that is still fun. It's like you play in the same areas, one's just side-scroller and flat, and the other area is like modern-day Sonic, and each area is just super entertaining. Like, playing some Act 2 areas can be amazing, some Act 1 areas that side-scrollers can be amazing. Like, the very first Act 2 area is in the chemical plant, and it is so fun to play as Act 2 with the modern Sonic to ride these rails, because the chemical plant everywhere is exploding. He's grinding these rails, he's sliding down tubes. It is just such an immersive gameplay. Super fun. I highly recommend playing. I wish that you just could either choose to play as 80 Sonic through the whole game or 3D modern Sonic through the whole game. But each area with those 2 Sonics, just super fun. To be able to fight the bosses in this Sonic story, you need 3 keys to unlock this gate, and you get those keys by doing these mini-games, side quests basically. But as you do the side quests, there are like these mini bosses that you come up against, and you can go up against them as either 80s Sonic or modern Sonic, and the first one you go up against is super fun to play as 80s Sonic, because it's a side-scroller and you're going up against Metal Sonic while you're playing as the 80s Sonic. So you just gotta run along this area as Metal Sonic is destroying it behind you. You gotta like jump into him or avoid his attacks, watching his shadow to avoid the attacks. It's just super fun to play the mini bosses in this. I loved it. Some of the side mini games, side quests to get the keys for the boss gates can be really fun. Others can be a really just pain in the ass. But one of the funnest side quests, it's in every area that you go to. The game has like 3 areas to unlock the full Sonic story, but in each mini game, there's one where you race Sonic's doppelganger. You'll be modern Sonic, and you'll be racing 80s Sonic, and in each area, like the first area can be Greenhill Zone. What's awesome is that Sonic will literally go through a waterfall into a tunnel and then ride through these loop-de-loops like usual Greenhill Zone area. But that was awesome. Like, I've never played a Sonic game where the area has been like so immersive, like so open worldish kind of, except it's nothing like compared to Sonic Frontiers. But it is so cool that you are able to like it just blew my mind that you were able to go through a waterfall into a secret tunnel. Anyway, being able to race your doppelganger and play these different mini games, like trying to reach the goal in a certain amount of time to get the boss key, super fun. I liked it a lot. The idea of mini games being added to it to be little side quests to complete the main quest, super cool. Anyway, the boss fights are like the boss fights with Shadow Story, not super entertaining. I mean, the very first boss fight, you play as the 80s Sonic, you're fighting this giant robot egg that 80s Eggman is controlling. Super easy to beat. You're just like, running around this area. It'll launch the robot will attack with its arms. You gotta get it to hit a bomb, then it'll like stun it. Sonic will run up the robotic arm and destroy the like head of the robot where Eggman is sitting. Super easy boss fight. And yeah, just the bosses in this are not fun. Compared to just going around the areas of the game, way funner compared to the actual boss fights. One of my favorite areas this game has is you're playing as modern Sonic, and apparently it's from Sonic Adventures 2, but you're skateboarding down the streets of San Francisco. You can ride the power lines if you get off jumps correctly. There's a point where you're outrunning this machine trying to reach the goal in time to be saved so Sonic doesn't get cut in half by the machine. I loved it. It's a little hedgehog sliding down the hills of San Francisco. It's brilliant. It's super fun. It's super fun too. Once you play the side scroller in that area, having 80 Sonic ride a skateboard, super cool. That was my favorite area of Sonic's story. Really fun. Really creative. Really fun. So anyway, after you do a couple more rinse and repeats of playing Acts 1 and 2, saving more people from being frozen in time, eventually you go after the Time Eater, which you learn is being controlled by the two Eggman, 80s Eggman and modern day Eggman. But before the fight, you get one of the best cutscenes in the world, like Sonic and modern Sonic from the 80s. They like get crushed by the Time Eater, and then they get support from like Shadow and Rouge and Tails and Knuckles. All their friends are like, "Come on, Sonic, you can do it. Don't let this guy beat you. Don't let Eggman push you around." And you get one of the best boss fights ever. You're in space going against the time meter, dodging his attacks, but you're supersonic and 80 supersonic. It's awesome because you're like in this kind of like light speed tube, but you can switch between modern Sonic and 80 Sonic. With 80 Sonic, he goes side scrollers, trying to collect these rings. Once Sonic gets out of rings, then he'll lose basically. So you gotta keep an eye on that. You gotta keep an eye on the time. You gotta keep an eye on the time meter's attacks. It's a lot to keep an eye on, but it is super fun to go against the time meter in this, because it has a feeling that if you don't beat the time meter out in space, then the world is going to be destroyed. It has a great feeling to it. The gameplay to it is awesome, both in side-scroller and modern day Sonic gameplay modes. I loved it. Super cool. So, once Sonic and 80 Sonic defeat the time meter, the time goes back to normal. They go back to the birthday party, and Sonic says goodbye to his past version of himself. He's like, "Hey Sonic, goodbye, enjoy your future, it's gonna be great." Sonic, the old Sonic, waves goodbye, jumps into a portal back to his own world, and that's the game. I love this game. I love the credits because it showed clips of what was taken from the different games, like Sonic Riders, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic Origins. All these games mashed into this one great game and then remade into an even greater game. I loved it. Super fun. Super fun playing all these areas, having an area where you can run on water, having an area where you're going through a fire tornado. It's just one of the best Sonic games I have ever played. Definitely up there. I enjoyed it so much. Alright guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this game as much as I do, please leave that in a comment or give the video a thumbs up. Happy 2025 once again. My goal is to get at least 100 subscribers this year. So if you like this video, please subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. And I'll keep on making content like this, and I hope you guys like it. Alright guys, that's what I got for you. We'll see you next time.